Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I've been your beat reporter covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for On SI every single day since August 2019, and we are continuing to move forward to another offseason together. As always, you can find all of our 100% free 24/7 boots on the ground coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars every single day on social media such as Facebook and Twitter when you follow us at Jaguars on SI. You can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. Hello and welcome to today's episode, everybody. We are, of course, reviewing the second day of mandatory veteran minicamp for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wednesday's practice at the Miller Electric Center was held in front of several thousand fans. They once again really showed up and showed out to support the Jaguars. Was definitely a sense of every time Travis Hunter touched a football, the crowd went crazy. Could definitely tell he was the number one attraction they were there for. You know, if you're comparing the crowd pops to the various other players on the roster, it was very clear that Travis Hunter was first and foremost on that list. It was a very competitive day for the Jaguars. They've said that the last day of minicamp will be a little bit toned down, a lot fewer team periods. There was plenty of team periods the last 2 days. We mentioned yesterday that they are keeping score on offensive versus defensive competition reps. That includes in the red zone, that includes third downs, that includes fourth downs. The offense barely squeaked by with a 10-9 win on Tuesday during the first minicamp practice. Well, the defense blew them out of the water on Wednesday. Defense won 16-11, and honestly, it didn't even feel that close. It definitely felt, in my opinion, throughout the entire practice, that Anthony Campanelli's unit was simply the one pushing the envelope against the Jaguars offense. They were dictating the terms. They were doing a great job of constricting, the different areas of the field the Jaguars were trying to hit. I think that by going with this new zone first, vision based defense, that it'll actually eliminate some windows and make some windows tighter, because now instead of, leaving a guy one-on-one throughout the play, you now have various players who have a chance to make a potential play on the ball. So I thought the secondary really took it to the offense throughout the day. Tyson Campbell had another fantastic practice. He had one the day before, had another one today. Just some really impressive reps, both in team drills and in the red zone. Very much looks like a guy who is dialed in, who is ready to go. Defensive coordinator Anthony Campanelli said some great things about him after practice, and just that, he's a player he enjoys coaching, and you can see it in some of those little moments on the practice field. I saw one on Tuesday. Campbell just comes off the field after making a great pass breakup in the end zone. And just the reaction and the interaction between him and his new defensive coordinator after that play really showed me a lot of things that I need to know about how Camp kind of carries himself. And you heard, Bill Sheridan last week, as you guys saw, on our channel, and of course on our YouTube, that Bill Sheridan said he believes this defensive roster has completely fallen for the Jaguars defense coordinator. And after seeing him interact with veteran players this week after they made big plays, I agree with that. I see a connection that at least the coordinators I've covered, I just haven't seen on that defensive side of the ball. We'll see if that actually means anything or not. I'd venture to think it does, but we'll see just how much. But regardless, these two, Campbell and Campanelli, seem to have got off on the exact right foot. Campbell's having a fantastic offseason. Just needs, obviously, to stay healthy by the time the regular season rolls around. Speaking of staying healthy, obviously, Jaguars had a little bit of a scare during Wednesday's practice. Brian Thomas Jr. and Campbell made contact with each other on a pass in the middle of the field. Thomas was down for several minutes before getting up and walking with trainers back inside to the indoor practice facility. I'd say not even 10 minutes later, he comes back out after doing some stretching, brings his helmet, was on the sidelines looking engaged and ready to go. I never saw him go back in. And Liam Cohen, more or less said that it was just a very much so a precautionary thing. Seems like it was a shoulder issue, but either way, I'd expect him after, Cohen said it was precautionary. And after seeing him return to the sidelines, you would think Brian Thomas Jr. will be ready to go for the last day of minicamp, or perhaps they just hold him, say, essentially, let's slow it down until training camp. Here's exactly what Cohen had to say. He said, "Oh, yeah, he's fine. Absolutely could have gone back and played. Just bruised it a little bit. Said he had a great range of motion, strength. He's all good. So no issues, just precautionary." And he asked if it was his shoulder, and he said, "Yeah, it was one of them." I mean, he's had both, so it's nothing new for him. He's had them a little bit in the past. It's not anything. If he didn't come back out, he'd be really hurt. So he was completely cleared to play. And he was also asked if it was scary to see him go down. He said, "Yeah, a little bit. Anytime your guys go down, it's never fun to see. We've been really blessed and fortunate. It happens." So much ado about nothing. Brian Thomas Jr. is fine. Trevor Lawrence is in a sleeve, not a sling. Everybody is okay. In terms of health, the Jaguars are right now, other than I'd say, Dennis Gardeck needs to still get back from his ACL injury. I'd say the Jaguars are in a pretty good position right now in terms of overall health. Now, if there was one quote from Liam Cohen that stood out during the day, it was very clearly what he had to say about right tackle Anton Harrison. He was asked what he's seen from Harrison, and he said, "I think obviously the footwork, the athleticism, the ability to pass pro on an edge." And then he says, quote, "When Anton wants to go, he can go. Just consistently doing it on a day in, day out basis. Smart. He understands the why of what we're trying to get accomplished. As much as he can continue to rise going into year 3 as a first round pick, to take a huge step this year and be a lockdown tackle for us." He said it all right there. He said, when Anton wants to go, he can go. And it very much has seemed like there's been kind of a disconnect between, this staff and this new regime and Anton Harrison, former first round pick who the last regime, I'd venture, even when he played poorly at times, would have never thought about taking him off the field. Well, the Jaguars signed 2 offensive tackles this offseason, and Fred Johnson and Shuma Idoga. And we can't reveal who's getting what reps, etc. But I can confidently say it surely seems like the right tackle battle is very legitimate. And I might even lean toward Idoga maybe leading the way right now. It doesn't seem like there's much of a battle at left tackle. It seems like Walker Little is safe there, but definitely has seemed like Anton Harrison needs to win this job as opposed to just showing up and being given it to him. And in Cohen's answer there, and in Sean Sherratt's answer last week, you can kind of sense where the Jaguars think Harrison needs to improve if he wants to have a starting job in this offense. They want him to be more consistent. They just ultimately want less of the up and down play. He can have really flashy, high level caliber plays on one play, and then the next play get completely blown up. I've said before, I think Harrison should start. I'm a fan of his game. I think he absolutely can get better, more consistent. But I also think for such a young tackle, he's battle tested. He has experience. He has shown those serious flashes of being strong and pass protection. It just seems like the staff thinks there's more to get out of him than maybe what they saw on tape, maybe what they've seen so far. So very much seemed like, to a large extent, that he was put on notice by Liam Cohen's comments on Wednesday. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode. Please make sure you find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other podcast platforms at the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. You can also find us on our YouTube channel at Sports Videos on SI.